This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Hey, it's Christina.
Hey, it's Jen.
Hey, it's Kate.
Real Estate Misfit Moms.
Okay, so I am what you would call a transplant here in Waco. I know that Kate, you're a transplant.
I am also a transplant.
And Christina, you are not, correct?
Yeah,
Have you've been
I've
here
been
your whole
here
life?
Deep rooted.
Not my whole life.
But your whole, like, adult life?
Yes.
Okay. When did you move here? So if you, like, aren't here your whole life.
So to the Wake, I've always been in Texas. First of all, I was born and raised here. I feel like that's the only way that I should do it. I love Texas.
I love Texas.
But then
too.
I say that out loud, and I'm like, well, that's all you know, so it doesn't matter. But anyway, yeah. So I was born in Texas, but I've been in the Waco area since 6th grade.
Okay,
Where
that's
were you
that's
before
like
then?
a long time.
Bell County.
Oh, okay. So you were
Right.
real far.
I'm gonna need everybody to
She
put those
was,
laughs.
I'm sorry. She was relocated from
So, like,
Temple.
She was
45
relocated
minutes.
from 20 miles over the county line.
Yeah. So I was raised in Coppers Cove
Okay.
until
An
5th grade.
hour.
Then I came here. Yes.
And so then you've been here.
In a land far, far away is where Christina is from.
I literally thought you were going to say,
Listen,
like,
I
you're
came
from,
out-
like, Lubbock
I'm
or
not-
Amarillo. Like,
Y'all are way more interesting. Way more
so
interesting.
you just wanted to
So
lie to us?
you just wanted it to sound better than it was.
Once upon a time in a land far, far away.
Called Copper's Cove.
Copraise,
Well, you like how I said? Well, you like how I said Bell County? Like,
Oh, Bell County.
Anyway, yes.
Okay. Were you
So-
born there?
No, but
Okay.
I'm not telling you where I was born. Damn it, okay?
Why?
I've been in Texas since the day
No, you
that
weren't.
my body hit the floor.
Oh, the floor. So you were born in New Mexico and they threw you over the border.
No, I was born in
Oh.
Texas.
Okay, well, that's all I wanted to know.
She was probably born like 20 minutes outside of Coppers Cove.
She was probably born in Waco. Were you born at Gilchrist?
Not at Kilcrest. Is that what you said? That's bad.
Okay, take that out.
Yeah.
Say that.
Deleted.
This is a bad one.
Yo.
Okay.
You
Okay,
sure
so
you took your meds?
I did.
And so, yes, I'm from Texas.
Okay, cool.
Is your hubby from Texas?
Yes. He was
See-
actually born one county over. I was like 4.
But,
But-
like, oh, that's right, because you guys, that's your love story, is that you went to high school together, but like you were like, oh, he exists, and
Right.
he thought you were the most beautiful thing that hit this world.
Well, that's the biggest joke. I'm like, you've loved me since day one. He's like, okay. Because we dated when we were like 15, and you don't know what the heck.
Life.
You don't. So I always tell him that. I'm like, that I've never left your mind. And he's like, yeah.
Except for that one time.
Except for that one time.
Except for that one time when you did.
when I was dating some other girl.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of like a running joke in our house.
Christina's like, okay, can we move on now?
Yeah. So where are you from, Jen? And
I
How'd you get
am born and raised in Kansas, in the great little town of Gardner. And my parents still live in Kansas in Olathe. A lot of people like to say Olathe. That's what it looks like, Olathe.
Hmm.
Yeah, weird. And I lived there until I was 20, and then I went on this really cool. Oh my god!
Mike, please tell me you can hear that.
That's the best. Oh my
I
gosh.
can't, I'm crying.
He's gonna do it again too. He's pushing.
I feel like you need a tablecloth on your leg or something.
Some days. Some days.
Shit.
Literal.
Literally shit. This is
He
fantastic.
doesn't want to listen to Auntie Jen's story. He's like, fuck you and your kids.
He's like, shit on you, girl.
Taking your Kansas.
That's a real shitty place to grow up. Are we?
I don't see anything
okay,
yet.
good. I mean, that's good.
So far, it's,
Solid.
it's contained.
Okay.
Oh my god.
That was fantastic. Love
Are
it.
my eyes black?
No.
Okay, good. Okay, so.
Do a little like this.
I got a lot of it.
Do it from the outside in.
Oh,
Like up. There you go.
okay. Instead of
Under
spreading it
control.
up. Yeah.
Right. Under control over here.
There you go.
Oh my God, you said I was okay.
But it didn't look bad. It just.
She was like, it's just a little bit.
Just a little bit of raccoons. I don't want you
She
to
just
look
had
good.
a kid shit in her pants. On her pants, not in her pants.
It's true.
Okay.
She's also afraid it's going to come flying out. She's like, I'm trying to contain the shitteth. Anyway, we
Okay.
digress.
So I went on this really, I lived in Olathe for 20 years. And then I went on this really cool thing called a first marriage. And I married a
Yay.
man in the military, and I moved to North Carolina. Obviously that was my first marriage, so it didn't work out. Then I moved to Tennessee from North Carolina, and
By yourself?
yeah, by myself. Well, not by myself. A girl I had met at the base in North Carolina. We became friends. She was also going through a divorce, and she had 2 young girls. And I was like, oh, well, I need to leave. I don't want to go home. I don't want to feel like a failure, so I didn't go home. So I moved to Tennessee, and I lived above her mom's garage. I paid like $50 a week to live there. So cheap.
Score.
Right? Got a job at a car dealership because that's what I did. Like, I worked at a car dealership all through high school and did a bunch of aftermarket stuff. And so I lived in Tennessee. And then I hosted an event for Roush Performance where Jack Roush came and he did a signing of cars and stuff. It was like what they did. And then I got a job offer from Roush. And they are based out of Michigan. So I left Tennessee. I went home to Kansas for about 4 weeks for my transition into my new job. So then I moved to Michigan. And when I was in Michigan, I became a vendor rep for the company that my now husband works for. And we were at an event, and I met him face-to-face for the first time in South Carolina. Right?
Husband?
Jared, yeah.
Okay.
Current husband.
Current husband. Yeah, met him in South Carolina at an event. We had been friends because I was his vendor rep and stuff. And then we just kind of like always kept talking after that. And then we wanted to take our relationship farther, but I was too scared to move all the way to Texas. So
Yeah.
I left my job there, and I went to back to a car dealership to do the same thing I was doing at the first one in Oklahoma. And I moved to Oklahoma City because it was 4 hours from my parents and 4 hours from here. I was like, oh, this is going to be so great. Like, we'll see each other every other weekend. Well, I got tired of driving. So I quit my job and I moved to Texas. So now
Yeah.
I'm here. So I lived in a lot of places in a very small amount of time. And I have been here now since 2015. I moved here like June of 2015. And this is probably the greatest state I've ever lived in. I tell people that all the time. They're like, what do you like? I like all of it.
Yeah.
Like, I love the people. They say everything's bigger in Texas, but everyone's just kind. Like, I really feel that way. So that's where I am. Where are you from?
So I'm from the East Coast. I'm from Virginia. I was born there, and I was there until my husband told me that he wanted to start considering having kids, and I said, not here. I lived really close to DC. And as my husband and I were dating, we had a lot of like differences in how we remember things. So like 9/11, what he remembers and what I remember are very, very different. Like I remember exactly where I was sitting. I remember what class I was in. I remember what we were learning. I remember Mr. Sullivan in French class turning on, they were green TVs mounted to my high school wall, and turning on the news, and it was the quietest time that it had ever been. And I remember Jimmy Bourne asking Mr. Sullivan, do you think that they're gonna fall? And he said, no, they're not gonna fall. And about 5 minutes later, the towers fell. And I remember being on lockdown, and I remember not being able to reach my family, and I remember being terrified. Because not only did 9/11 happen, in New York, there was also the Pentagon.
Yeah.
And I went to school in Arlington, which was really close to that area. And my brother went to school in DC.
Yeah.
And at the time when all that was getting released, we didn't know it was the Pentagon. We knew that DC had been attacked. Never mind the conspiracy theories that are out now about what happened. At the time, in the moment, I had no idea whether I had a family or not.
Yeah.
And because of that, all cell phone service was shut down because everyone was trying to call everybody. So that was terrifying. I also had a experience when I was in high school where there was a sniper shooter that was just popping off people for fun. And there was actually 2 of them, and the sniper shooters were actually caught at the gas station that I would fill up on before I would go home.
Yeah, so you were ready to go.
That's
So-
terrifying.
We had
Wow.
SWAT. Yeah, I had SWAT come to the school. They taught us like what to look for, what does it sound like, how to zigzag in hallways, that we weren't like allowed to walk outside anymore.
All because you lived in DC, like
All
in
because
the DC area.
yeah,
Yes.
and that's just the
Wow.
way that it is. And when my husband and I worked in DC before I came here. It was really, really regular to have bomb threats and suspicious packages and, diplomats being in town. Oh, yeah, there it is. And diplomats being in town and it holding up traffic. And, I lived like 20 miles from my office on the Virginia side. I lived 20 miles from my office. On average, it would take me about 3 hours to get home
Oh gosh.
because that's what the traffic's like. And look, there's exposure to bad things everywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
There's exposure to drugs, there's exposure to alcohol, there's exposure to a lot of things. What I didn't want was the jadedness that comes with the territory that I lived in. I didn't want my kids to have that. I didn't want my kids to have the same experiences that I had as far as like learning about those things at that age. Like I don't want my kids to be sheltered, but I didn't want them to be
scared.
and I didn't want them
Wow.
to know the things that that I knew.
Yeah.
And see it at a different level, see it at a higher level. My mom worked as an executive assistant for my entire life since I was 1. She worked for a previous director of the CIA, and he was a spook, which is what they call spies.
Yeah.
And you would never know it. I mean, he was one of the best men that I've ever had the honor of knowing in my life. But when you take a bird's eye view and like you Google his name and you hear about the things that he did, that's not who I knew, but like those are the things that like I was surrounded and grew up with. And I didn't want that for my kids. And I didn't want to be a mom when I first got married to my husband. Like I just didn't even want to have kids, but it changed. And so he was the person that had to have the job that got relocated for his industry. So he put in for transfer, and you put in like your top 3 places that you'd like to go, but they give you whatever they have open.
Yeah.
And so Waco, Texas was what he got. And at the time they were like, here's your offer. You have 24 hours to decide.
Holy crap.
Did you put Waco on your list?
He put Texas because his family's in Texas.
Yeah.
But I had just found out I was pregnant.
Oh.
And with James, and then he comes home and he was like, we have 24 hours about to decide whether we want to move or not. Unpaid relocation. We had just bought a house 9 months prior.
Oh my gosh.
So I was like, look, I've never lived anywhere else in my life, and I feel like if we're going to jump, now's the time to jump.
Yeah.
And so when we were dating, obviously I'd visited Texas to, visit his family and stuff, and I really enjoyed it. So we moved here, and this is where we landed. And I didn't know what Waco, Texas was. I like Google mapped it and like dropped myself down into Google and tried to like drive the streets on Google. It was unique.
Yeah.
Not what I was expecting.
Very eclectic.
I'm pretty sure it dropped me in Belmead. When I first came. Best story is we drove. So 2 days straight driving, 12 to 14 hours each day.
And you're pregnant.
And I'm pregnant. And we come into Waco from the Belmead side, because that's where we're coming
Right.
from. And there is a billboard,
Mhm.
and it's a teenager holding a pregnancy test that says, "Dang it, I'm pregnant again." And I looked at my husband. It was like he felt it, and I was like slow turning towards him, and I was like, "Where did you just move me?"
Oh my
Because
gosh.
that's not how, like, it's very conservative speaking and things like that. Like, you don't talk about stuff like that, like where I'm from.
In Virginia.
Really?
In Virginia.
Yeah.
Oh, it's no, you don't talk about that stuff. You don't get pregnant in high school. Like, you don't talk about it. Like,
Yeah.
kids are taken out of high school altogether if you get pregnant. Like you just disappear.
See, and I'm only from Texas. I was always of the mindset that we're the ones that are real conservative.
I think there's two different conservatives, right? Like there's being politically conservative, and I think there's being conservative in the fact that like you are, everything's a facade, and and it's just how you appear to others. And I think that is a lot of what it was when I grew up. It's all about appearances, who you know, like what you know, what your industry,
how you look from the outside.
How you look from the outside. I mean, I wore, 6 to 8 inch, like pencil point heels and a pencil skirt and walked 8 blocks in DC consistently with no problem. And now I'm like, I look at heels and I just want to barf. I'm like, I had all my clothes from DC moving here, and, slacks and dress pants and business casual. Like that's the normal. And here, like I didn't have jeans and t-shirts. Like that's not what we wore.
Yeah.
And so it was weird for me to move here because I was like, why is everyone so casual all the time? Like, and so now it's like, I open my closet and I have 18 pairs of jeans because I'm like, oh, well, these are my dressy jeans. And these are my fat jeans. And these are my, I'm going to run to Target jeans.
Yeah.
There was none of that where I'm from. Everyone dressed like very, even to go to Walmart. Like
everybody was put together.
Everybody's put together all the time. You are on all the time because you just never know who you're going to see, run into. You don't want people to think badly of you. Like that's very much what it's like where I'm from. And so conservative in the fact of like, just it's your appearance based.
Gotcha. Not necessarily political and all that. It's
no. And I mean, obviously there's that because of the proximity to DC, but
right.
It's polarized if anything. But it's a unique culture.
How long did it take you to get used to this? Because that's, to me, sounds like night and day.
Like 3 years. It took me about 3 years to really settle
figure out
in.
your wardrobe.
Yeah, well, figure out my wardrobe, figure out who I was here, slow down because where I'm from,
it's hustle and bustle.
It's hustle and bustle all the time. You do not stop. You're go, 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 go. And it's like even when I woke up on a Saturday, I would wake up on a Saturday and have a list of things that I needed to accomplish that day, and I was going to do those. And then I knew come Monday, I was waking up at 5 a.m. I was going to go work out, and then I was going to go to work, and I got up early so I didn't have to sit in the morning traffic because I knew I was going to sit in the afternoon traffic.
So everything was scheduled.
Everything is scheduled. Like there's very little downtime, and even your downtime is scheduled because that's what you do. So you live to work in there, and there's a time and a place for it. But coming here, it was weird that it was like, it annoyed the piss out of me for like a good year and a half that stores didn't open till 10. I'm like, why? It's Saturday. Why are they not open? People are running errands on a Saturday. Like, why are they not open? And it was weird to me because stores are open at 8.
They don't open. What stores open at 10?
Most of them.
Oh, I guess I don't leave my house early enough ever.
Yeah, ever. Like if you're gonna go to like shop, like grocery stores are open, but
grocery stores are open. I think maybe
like malls,
Target is
like
back to 9, but like they even were 10. So's like
I do
Kohl's
remember when
10.
I tried to go there at 8 one day before a closing, and they weren't open. And
Pretty much anything in Marketplace, except the earliest thing in Marketplace that opens is either Marshall's or Ross at 9. But everything opens at 10. And that was really hard for me because I'm a morning person. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, what is everyone doing?
Yeah.
And like, they're all at home enjoying family and doing things. And like, that was never my life. Like we were always up and go, 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 go. And so
even as a kid,
because my mom I was the youngest. There was 3 of us. So she was always taking us somewhere. We were doing something.
Sports.
Something. She had to run errands. She worked 3 jobs. So she may have had to run into work to go do one thing or another. And so, we were always going to and from and everywhere. So it took me a long time to figure that out. It took me a long time when someone said like, oh, let me help you with that they really like just genuinely wanted to help me.
They weren't
trying to steal it.
There's not
you don't have a chit. Like it's not like, oh, Jen, help me with this. So I'm going to, when I need something,
you owe me.
Yeah. You owe me.
They were actually helping you out of generosity and not like wanting something in return.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Were things that different for you coming here?
No, I grew up in like what you would call the Bible Belt.
Gotcha.
So like the values that are instilled here are instilled in Oklahoma and Kansas. Like,
Yeah.
it just kind of like free-formed down. But I grew up in a small town. The small town I grew up in was probably like China Spring 7-8 years ago.
Gotcha.
Where it's small and you didn't have a Walmart and a Burger King or anything like that growing up. But now I go there and they're there. And I'm like, weird. Like,
Yeah.
I don't get it. You know, now I had one elementary, one middle school, one high school. Well, now there's like 5 elementary. So now it's like a midway thing, you know? So it's like weird. But no, and I think it was because I had already lived so many places.
Yeah.
Where like I just had to adapt. Like conform and adapt. But now like I've been here long enough that like I have made my own person. Like I'm not trying to be somebody I'm not anymore. All these other places you like want people to like you because you don't know how long you're going to be there and you don't have a family. So when I moved to Michigan solely by myself.
I can imagine.
Drove my car, my little baby Fiesta, loaded down with everything I owned and drove there. Ended up some girls I went to hair school with lived in a town like north of Detroit. So like I knew them. But like that was it. So then I ended up like Michigan is like a blur to me. Like I feel like I was there for a really long time, but I really wasn't. I just moved a lot.
Yeah.
Because like I never lived like by myself. I lived with like a roommate or a temporary roommate or I traveled for my job. And so I was just like there.
Yeah.
And so, like, that was probably the weirdest place I lived because, like, everybody talks about where you live in Detroit or Michigan based off your hand because it's the shape of a mitten.
Yes.
So I'd be like, oh, yeah, I, like, lived over here.
I didn't know that.
You know, so I had to, like, learn where you lived on your mitten, you know, whatever. Stupid. But that was probably, like, the weirdest place for me. Everywhere else just kind of, like, worked. Like, when I moved to North Carolina, it was military. So I automatically had friends.
Right.
Were we friends? No, but I had friends.
Right.
I had acquaintances. You know, there are a few I still talk to. Not many. You know, you grow out of those. You grow out of that life. Like, I grew out of that life. Things didn't work for me. Cool. Whatever. And so I moved on. So moving here, when I moved here, I knew literally nothing about Waco. It was a town. Like every other town I'd ever been in. So she's over here Google Mapsing it and Googling it.
You're just showing up.
I'm just driving here, showing up. Like, skirt, I'm here. You know, no big deal. So then I'm like here for a weekend and I'm like watching TV. Or I came in on like a Thursday night and it was Friday and Jared had to work. And I was like watching TV and I was like, this show is so cool. Fixer Upper. Never in my life had I watched an episode.
I didn't know what it was either.
Until I moved here. And I was like, this shit's cool. Like, look at all this stuff they do. Like, that's pretty cool. So then I kind of got addicted to it when I moved here because there was nothing else I was doing but watching TV. And then my dad was like, you're moving to Waco? And I was like, it's Waco. He was like, no, it's Waco because of David Koresh. And I was like, who's that?
Also had the same problem.
Like, I don't know these people. I'm not from here. And I'm like, when I moved here, I was in my late 20s. I have other things I'm doing. I'm not Googling. Sorry, no offense. That's not me. That's not my personality.
Yeah.
I was like I would refer to myself as like a gypsy, fly by the seat of my pants.
Yeah.
Like I was just everywhere. People wouldn't date me because I had no plan for life, which is probably like Matt earlier was probably mad that I had no plan for life. But that's just how I always like lived.
Right.
Like growing up, my mom died when I was 15 and my dad was absent after that. So I just had like random friends of my parents in and out of my life, checking on me, making sure I was going to school. Like I have older brothers, but they had their own
whatever
stuff
going
to
on.
deal with. And if I followed in them for their footsteps, I'd probably be in jail. So good thing.
Yeah.
But like, so I always just like lived life like, okay, what's next? Like, I don't really know what's next. Like, I never really knew. I never had a plan. I just was like, this seems fun. Let's do it.
Yeah, very carefree.
It was very carefree. And now I am the least carefree person ever. I want to plan. I want to know where we're going. I want to know what time I got to be there. I need to know what time I'm going to leave my house to get there. What's the weather going to be like?
Isn't it funny how life just...
I flew by the seat of my pants for so long that now I'm like, got my pants on and I'm in my seat.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's different. But so no, I didn't have that
adjustment
period.
You were just like, here, ta-da.
I really was. My adjustment period was with co-parenting. That was my adjustment period. And I'm still adjusting. It's never ending.
Literally one of the hardest things.
Yes. And so, like, I just kind of dig it. Like, I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't change anything. I think it's shaped me to better help people in my business because I relocated.
Right.
I relocated. So I can be like, I love it. I did it. You can do it.
Right.
You know?
Well, and I think that's also what's interesting. Like, you didn't come to be, didn't you come, where were you, what was your
Job
your
before.
profession when you moved to Texas?
What did you do in DC?
Commercial real estate.
Okay, so she had real estate, but you weren't.
You did animals,
Yes, when I first came here, because I met with
right? I was floored to hear that too.
Animals?
So I was a
Vet tech.
I was vet tech because that's what I did. I wanted to go to when I went to college. That's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a veterinarian. So I was a vet tech.
Right.
I loved vet teching. I worked in an ICU when I was in Virginia.
Yeah.
And I worked emergency. I was overnight. I loved emergency. There's interestingly a lot of correlation between dogs and humans, and like we take a lot of the same drugs, which is really interesting.
Horses too.
Yep. And so when I
Right.
came here, we thought I would easily walk into a commercial real estate job and knowing commercial would be different here because there's not the same level.
Skyscrapers,
Right.
everyday business deals happening in those, yeah.
But my experience in the commercial real estate world would, obviously make you think like, oh, surely she would walk into something, right?
Mhm.
I could not believe the hate and the disdain I got, basically being like, oh, little girl, you can be my assistant. And I was like, oh, cool. Do you own 2/3 of the city's tax base and have to go through BRAC? Do you even know what BRAC is?
Yeah.
And so it's so interesting that I was shot down, and it gave me a very ugly view of Waco and real estate because, not that I was touting like who I am, but like, you go to an interview, you bring in your resume. It's like, I handed billions of dollars in real estate taxes, and I helped pay those real estate taxes and manage that money and manage engineers in buildings and chief engineers and lead engineers. And I know what the AP process was. I was a lead AP, like I was a green associate. Like I knew what those things were,
Right.
but they weren't here. And
So it didn't matter.
It didn't matter. And nothing mattered. I mean, I helped when, we had attorneys that were on retainer because in DC, your real estate taxes are fought. You can go all the way to Supreme Court. And so like I helped assist in those matters. And it's like, that did not like convey. I'm like, do you understand like the capacity that is?
Right.
So,
It's more like they were intimidated by your like resume than they
I don't even think they had understood how to comprehend.
She could have been
because
saying
it's
she worked for Charlie
so
Brown.
Different. It was so
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
Like you don't have there is no BRAC here. There aren't things like that
Yeah.
where they're pulling like 98% of your tenant base out because the government said so. Like,
Right.
and you will sit vacant and pay millions and millions of dollars because like that
Right.
wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
So I think it just was that. And so, but I needed a job and we needed to pay bills. We had relocated and we didn't get paid relocation. So, I was like, what can I do? And I was like, there was an opening at the Waco Emergency Clinic. And so I went and interviewed and I worked there and then I started working in one of the day clinics right up until I was 37 weeks pregnant with James. And then my doctor was like, you cannot work. You have to be on bed rest right now because you're really, really swollen. And I was up for 3 days straight and slept for 2 days.
Yeah. So not good.
Not good. But I absolutely, the people I worked with at the EC when I first moved here were like my first family. They were they were the people I was with all the time. They've become clients now in my business, but that was all I knew. And then when I had James, I obviously couldn't keep him with me at the EC, and it got harder and harder because Will's schedule is shift work. And so it got harder and harder. And so he works overnight sometimes and I had to work overnight and it just not healthy. So then I saw a marketing position open for a real estate company, a residential real estate company, and I went and interviewed and took that instead because then I could have flexible hours. I could have James with me, and that's just how I took that like right turn right back into real estate.
Yeah.
But in a whole different capacity.
In a different capacity. I mean, I did some marketing on a different level. Like I did tenant newsletters and stuff like that. And so I did some marketing. I ran the events and stuff like that with property managers. So I did marketing, but in a different, on a commercial level more than a residential. But yeah, so I was kind of turned right back into real estate. And so I just feel like that's just, my life has just constantly come back to real estate, come back to real estate, come back to real estate. So that's just sort of where
How you got here.
Yeah, how I got where I am right now.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. It's funny because, like, I graduated high school and I was going to nursing school. I don't know why. I don't like, because that's what I was supposed to do, right? Like
That's what a lot of people do.
You were supposed to graduate high school and then go to college, and that's what you were supposed to do. And so life was a mess at that point. And so I enrolled in college. I moved out of my house. So I had my own apartment before I was 18 and had a full-time job and was going to college full-time at 18. Anyway, for whatever reason, I don't even remember why. But when I was 19 years old, I decided I was going to buy a house. And I did. I bought my first house at 19. I literally cannot even remember.
Is that when mortgages were like $20,000? You can get them through Bank of America? Because I know someone that did that.
No, my first interest rate was 7.25%.
Oh, so like right now.
Well, not as bad, but anyway. Anyway, and so I was going to nursing school, had my own apartment, bought a house, and the girl that did our mortgages, she was like, "Oh my gosh, I love you. We need somebody to like be our office person. Come answer the phones." And so I did. And the rest is a whole lot of history. So
And that's how you became a lender.
that's how I became a lender, a mortgage lender. I started there. And that was before I could, play on my phone all day and do whatever like you can today. So I had nothing better to do but sit there and like absorb all the conversation around me.
Yeah. Which until made you who you are.
Yeah. And so I realized really quick that I didn't give two shits about nursing school. I got to anatomy and I was like, wah, wah, wah. And so
Then
I
they
just
call
ran
on you,
with
they're
it.
like, Christina, and you're like, femur.
Yeah. I was like, what are we talking about?
Blood.
Yeah.
So
I
that's how
mean, like, I kind of did the same thing. I went to high school and I didn't go to college because, like, I had absentee dad, no mom, and nobody guiding me. Nobody being like, hey, you need to go take this test. And so I never took, like, the SAT or the
yeah.
I couldn't even tell you all the names. Probably need to learn them from my children, but couldn't tell you the names of all the tests. Never took any of them. I went to hair school. I followed my best friend, who I called her my twin in high school, followed her dreams. Me and her both. But at two different times. I went after school. She went later. She went to college, I think. I can't remember. And I did hair. And when I moved to the Carolinas, I did hair for a minute. Didn't really have to work there because my husband at the time was in the military and spouses didn't cost a lot to live. And I was, I just did hair. And then he was like, no, I don't want you to do it. And I was like, okay, cool, whatever. I quit. So then when I finally made my way back here, I was like, dang, I don't want to do car industry anymore.
Right.
Like, I'm out of it. Like, I'm done. I don't want it anymore. Like, it's really a cutthroat industry being a female.
Right,
because
I bet.
the car world is a man's world. It will always be a man's world. Like, props to all the women who have, like, made it where they are in the car world. Like, way to go. Because there's not many of them that have a name that people know. And so I got here and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do for a job. So Jared was selling his house at the time. And his realtor was like, hey, we need a front desk person at our business. I was like, okay, cool.
I got this.
No problem. Like, I could do this. I worked in car dealerships. I worked front desk, receptionist, whatever. So, like, that's what I did. And then I was there for, like, 6 months, and the position came up with Patricia Meadows. I worked for her. I was her assistant, and I worked for Patricia for years as her assistant, and I learned so much from her, helped me be a better person because she is very kind. And then I had a daughter. and my life just kind of changed a little bit. So I was there for a little bit with her, and then I was like, I'm going to go out on my own.
Yeah.
And so now I've been out on my own for 5 years. So mine was just like a gypsy move.
Yeah.
Hey, let's just jump in this role and see what it's like. And I loved it. And I loved it because at the end of the day, the similarities between doing hair and doing real estate may not look alike to people, but it's a new person every day with new problems.
Mm.
And you're a therapist on both sides.
Yeah. Also true.
Yes.
So
You
it
never
kind
know.
of like worked, you know? And so when people are like, you did hair? I'm like, yeah, I did.
Yeah, for a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, for like 5 years.
Anyway, I think it's interesting because
Yeah.
we literally all fell here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Some
And then
way
we
or
all
another.
kind of like weirdly found each other. So like
Yeah.
I called you when I was at,
I don't even remember. I remember the first
so-
time I met you.
I remember, this is what I remember. We were at the office on Waco Drive.
Okay.
You had come by and you dropped a bunch of business cards. Those business cards migrated into an empty office next to my office in an old office that in like,
There was a
Right
bunch of
off.
desks back there. I
Yeah.
think I'm just talking about.
and so like I was in there one day on a call with a client and I was pacing and I don't remember why, but like I looked down and there's just Christina's cards. And I
Trashed.
didn't have
Just thrown around.
like a repertoire of like lenders I trusted. Like I had
Yeah.
gotten burned by a couple of lenders,
Yeah.
or it's like someone in your brokerage used this lender, they like them, but like I never clicked, like personally
Yeah.
clicked. So I was like, oh, look. And all of them were guys. And I still work with male lenders, but so it's not like that. But it was like in my head, there's a thing here that I never dealt with in my business before where it's called the Good Old Boy Club. And they
Mhm.
were good old boys. And good old boys don't tend to like my personality because I'm very blunt.
Mine neither.
I'm very blunt. I'm very direct. When I call you for an update, I don't want you to tell me like your whole life story, like, or like if something went wrong, talk about all the things that happened around it. Like, why did it happen? How do we fix it? How do we move forward? That's what I want to
And
know.
where are we
Yeah.
in getting this done?
Right. Like, don't tell me because you were motion sick one day, you pressed the wrong button and then it did this and then your underwriter did that. Like, I don't give a shit. Like,
yeah.
I want you to tell me I made a mistake. This is where we're going from here. This is where I am and this is how we're going to fix it. I have already talked to your client. Great. That's what I want to know. It's very business. It's not personal for me to treat you like that, like to talk to you like that because we're talking professionally.
Right. It's
Yes.
completely different.
So I remember I was pacing. I picked up Christina's card and I was like, "Oh, it's a woman. Like I don't have any women lenders. I don't talk to any women lenders." So I was like, "I'm going to call her." And I called you randomly and I was like, "I found your card. I want to meet." And we went to Starbucks. I think we talked about lending for 5 seconds.
Literally. I do remember this.
I had to breastfeed Everett. I don't think she was expecting me to come with a child.
I
And
don't
I'm-
think I knew. Like, oddly, I don't think I Googled you. Like, I don't know what I was
It
doing.
just showed up. I don't even think we really like in your headshot. You had like platinum blonde hair.
Oh, yeah. That was a really bad.
So I'm like looking for this platinum blonde person to walk in.
And
Can't
I'm not.
She's not. And
Nor have I ever.
She like comes over and I remember her being like, "Are you Kate?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm like don't
Who-
know
who
I'm
you
like,
be?
I'm like, "Who you?"
The
And
fuck you
she's-
want, girl?
She's like, "I'm Christina." And I was like, "Oh," like, I'm like trying to like fix your face, fix your face, fix your face. Like that's what I'm saying in my head because I'm like, you ain't.
This ain't you, girl.
Yeah.
Was this a glamour shot?
Oh,
Or
That's a
what?
whole nother
Did you have a
story.
good time in Photoshop? Like what happened?
What happened to your hair, girl?
Here's the sad part. I paid for all of that.
So that's how we met, and I think we just continued to talk and continue to talk and continue to talk, and I was able to like hand you a deal, and like then it just kind of kept going.
Progressed.
It just kind of progressed, and then you and I met randomly, also when I had Everett, and we went to Panera. That was like our first big
Was
date.
that?
That was our first big
No,
date.
you were pregnant with Everett.
Was I pregnant still?
You were pregnant because you showed up and I was like,
kind of like the ER.
like, yeah, just like that. And I was like, I didn't know you're having a baby. And Kate literally says, yeah, I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to like talk about it publicly or not. Like, I'm not sure. And I was like, okay.
I mean, it's there.
Like whatever floats your boat. Like
Right.
you do you, boo. What do you want with me? Like, and we had we were there for 2 hours.
Yeah, and I don't know why we scheduled. I think we just scheduled that meeting because I just wanted someone to connect with.
You had done something within, I think, TRLP, and it was like a women's business group is what we were trying to form.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
But we had done a deal or so before.
And we figured out they were both relo and
Yeah. So we figured out all these pieces about each other, but we were together for hours.
yeah. I don't think we ever figured out that networking thing. But
Well, and it's funny. I'm sitting here listening
We didn't.
to your story, and Kate will say to me, people think I'm a bitch, and I'm like, really?
mhm.
Like,
I've heard that from so many people. Where
I don't ever remember feeling that way with you at all. Like, I have always known that. I never felt like I had to pretend with Kate. I'm not a very good pretender anyway. I've always been very much so if you call me and say, Christina, what happened? I'll be like, listen, I totally forgot, or I totally screwed it up,
Yeah.
or I'm just that person.
Yeah.
I am not the kind of person that's going to focus on what happened, because we'll figure that out later. Let's fix it. That's always where my mindset's been. And I guess maybe that's why we did well, because I don't ever remember thinking she was a biatch.
But you've
What about me?
But you've had another agent say, "Oh, I've worked with Kate," and I always thought she was kind of a bitch. People always said she's kind of a bitch. And then
Yes,
they're like,
I've had
"She's
many
really, really
people tell me
nice."
that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
Kate, not at all.
I mean, me being a
People
realtor.
People say that about Jen too, because I've had people be like, "Oh my god,
How
have
are
you
you
ever worked with Jen Shelburne?" I'm like, "Yeah, she's real direct." And people do not like being direct in our
And I'm
industry.
going to teach you, if you do a deal with me and you are not competent in what you are doing, I am going to teach you kindly.
Well, and
Because
I think we
somebody
need more of
needs
that.
to teach your ass how to do real estate. Because
Well, that's your job.
I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid to tell anybody, hey,
that's not right.
that's not right. And would you like me to correct it, or you want me to teach you how to correct it? Or maybe
Right.
you should write this, or maybe it should be this. So yeah, and then I've had it where people have been like, oh, she's so nice. And I'm like, me?
Yeah. See,
Thanks.
it's
But
so
it's my
weird.
face. I got a face. And then I met Christina. I've met you several times.
Yes,
In a business setting.
Yes.
Never a social setting. Never where we've been like, oh, this is so fun.
Yes.
It's always just been in passing because you're a lender and I'm a realtor and that's what we do. And, and then I went to the
Mardi Gras.
Mardi Gras thing last year, and I come in running in hot from a dance
You were late.
competition. I was
Uh-huh.
late,
You didn't know everybody
I
at the
didn't.
table.
I
you knew who they were.
I only knew I knew Kate, but I knew Crystal, but I wasn't sure if Crystal knew who I was.
Oh, that was
Right.
a big thing. I remember because
it was a long time ago.
It was because
I asked. I said, "Are you going to be weirded out that I invited Jen?" Because I remember some of that interaction was
Yeah.
not her favorite.
Yes.
But it wasn't really.
It wasn't me.
It wasn't you. You were connected, but not.
I was connected. I did my part right. Someone else didn't do their part right. Whatever. And so I was like, oh, I don't know if she. So I'm that person that if you don't directly if I don't know that you know me, I am like, oh, hey, hi. I'm not
little more shy.
Yes, I really am more reserved about it.
See, and I don't remember.
So,
but it was kind of dark. I mean, it was kind of loud in there too.
Well, we all got real loud, real fast.
Yeah,
so
but we were also drinking. So you put a little bit of alcohol in me, and I'm like, oh, cool. Let's dance. Want to dance?
Let's. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was the first time I had really spoken to you in a social setting, and I loved it.
Yeah.
And then it was just we started the group chat.
Yeah. After After Mardi
And
Gras, there was
yes,
a group
the
because
chat.
next morning,
we
I
started
was
a group chat
making fun of someone
about trophies and stuff.
Oh,
And,
because we were making fun because something came up on Facebook where everyone was getting a trophy, and I
Yes.
was like, "And I have a trophy for just waking up today."
Yes, and we
I
were gonna
did
go.
it.
We were gonna go buy trophies or find
Yeah.
old trophies and
Yeah.
write things on it. And so then we became the group chat of winners with a
the
trophy. As the picture,
Yeah.
But it was a really long. The name was really long before. What was the group name?
Something ridiculous.
It was
But you changed it because it would say it every time in
my ear.
Yes. It was something about you deserve
You deserve an award.
an award for this or something.
So I had to change it because every time my ear would be like, "You deserve an award because of blah blah." It was like a 14 word.
It was so, but you're the one that made the name.
So I felt like I should change it.
And then you changed it to Winners.
Which is much easier.
Yes. Which is so great because I call it the Winners.
Yeah, which is
Chat.
Yeah, and every time like
It's become an identity.
It is, and because my kids and my husband will be like, the Winners are texting you. And I'm like, yeah, that's gonna go on like consistently.
Because like every day it'll be something random.
Yeah.
Like, what's the weather like over there? Because we all live in different spots.
Yes.
Like Crystal lives in Valley Mills.
Valley Mills.
Valley Mills.
Yeah.
Kate lives in China Spring.
I live-
Christina lives in China Spring, but 2 different parts of China Spring.
Like real
Right.
China Spring.
Real
Yeah.
China Spring.
5 minutes
3,
apart,
3,
but our
3.
weather is different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very. I'm in the
3,
3-3. She's in the 08.
She's in the 08. And then I'm in McGregor.
I'm the ugly stepchild of China Spring.
No, you just pay the higher taxes.
Yeah, I do.
Exactly.
But still, everything's the 08's fault.
Yeah. And
Always.
then
We're not allowed to shop at your Dollar General.
So stupid.
you're not?
Oh, that's
a
a whole
thing.
nother thing.
Do they make you sign in?
No, someone made a map and like literally like there's the Bosqueville Dollar General.
Shut up.
No.
Is that the one like right on the strip, like right in town?
Someone
Yes.
No, that's the 08ers. That's ours. You can't have that one. She shops at the one that's like down Wortham Bend because that was the first one to have the marketplace with the vegetables.
Did they close? I thought they closed.
No.
They one of them
modeled
modeled or something.
remodeled.
Okay. So
We have 3.
Yes, I
Yes.
know.
And then there's the one that's closer to like Bosqueville, like down Rock Creek or something like that, or I don't even know. But someone like legit made a map and was like, if you live in this section, you can go to this Dollar General. And if you live in this section, you can go to this Dollar General. And all you 08ers can go to that Dollar General.
That's so funny.
45.
Like, and then I live in McGregor, but technically Midway.
Yeah, so we'll have extensive conversations about who's got electricity.
Yes,
Or
because like I
is
have
it raining?
I have Waco Water. I have Co-op Electric, and I'm on the airport power grid. So I always have power except for this last time because
Yeah,
all
you
the
got screwed
power
last time.
poles snapped. And then I have like, I'm in literally my neighborhood's like built in the middle of a cornfield, so it's always really windy. So I lose everything in my backyard.
Winning.
And so our group,
Which is why we're winners.
yes. So
Which
we
is
always
why
talk
we're
about
winners.
all those stupid things too, and it just works.
Yes.
Like, it's just a funny thing.
But that kind of gives you an idea of who we are and how we got here, like a smidge of it.
Like a small smidge. And
Yeah.
There's so much.
There is so much. And obviously you'll learn us more as we go along. But we're not randos. I mean, we are random, but we're not randos.
No, we
Yes.
just like to have fun. We cackle a lot. I mean, I cackle a lot.
We enjoy our jobs and we like to have fun.
So we hope you stay with us for a bit longer and learn more about us and enjoy our podcast.
See you next time.
Bye.
This has been Real Estate Misfit Moms. Don't forget to follow us on socials at Real Estate Misfit Moms and bookmark our podcast so you never miss an episode. Remember, miss, you fit in here.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.